Welcome to the Equity Partner, episode 9 with Stacy and Chris Osmon. The Osmonds are owners of ABLE, which is Applied Behavioral Learning Experiences, and their company specializes in helping children and adults with autism, behavioral and developmental disabilities. And they've been in business over 15 years, have 3 locations, and over 35 employees in the Tampa, Florida area. I'm extremely excited about having you share your story and listen to the development that you all have had over the last 15 years of being entrepreneurs. And thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so just to briefly tell what the Equity Partner is, the Equity Partner is primarily an online platform targeting entrepreneurs, executives, young professionals, and providing content about personal finance, entrepreneurship, commercial finance, accounting, etc. And so I thought you all would be a perfect fit to share your story. And so tell me a little bit about your personal background and kind of how you made it to your professional path that you're on right now.
Wow, that's a great question to start with. So I grew up in Wisconsin and grew up in a very small town in Wisconsin and never really felt like we always had everything that we needed. And it was a great place, hardworking Midwestern people. And I had a great opportunity in the year of 1982 to go to Naples, Italy with my father. My parents were divorced. And I spent 2 years in Naples, Italy in high school. And it was a very eye-opening experience to me. All of a sudden going from a small Wisconsin town to this very large city, foreign city. And it really piqued my interest in starting to be responsible for myself. My father was the type that said, look, I'll take care of you, I'll provide for you, but you need to be responsible for yourself. And to me, that's when I first started to feel that, hey, I can live this life that I want to live. Came back to Wisconsin for 2 years, junior and senior year in high school. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin, where I have actually an undergraduate degree in agriculture. From there, I went to Carthage College I was coaching football at the time, and I got my master's degree in education. And then I spent 1 more year in college. Apparently I loved it so much that I got a teaching degree at Virginia Tech. And a little actually funny side story is Stacy and I were actually at Virginia Tech at the same time, but we didn't meet until 3 years later at Great Bridge High School. And so I came back to Wisconsin. I was teaching. I got an opportunity to work at a Division III school as a college basketball coach, which was one of my passions. So I took that. After 2 years of doing that, the head coach retired, and I started to apply for jobs in Virginia. And the reason in Virginia, my father lived in Williamsburg, Virginia. I applied for about 4 or 5 jobs until I got the life-changing call from Great Bridge High School. And I actually, Jeff, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was actually the 3rd choice for that job. 2 other people had turned it down. And when they called me, I was like, heck yeah, I'll take it. And I moved to Virginia, where I became the head basketball coach at Great Bridge High School. And Jeff Marshall was one of my players at the time. So it was just a wonderful experience for me. However, after about 3 years, I felt this urge to do something else. And I think when you go back to my experience in Italy, that freedom I had to be a little bit on my own, to make my own responsibilities, I started to feel that at Great Bridge High School. And I made the very difficult decision in the year of 2000 to walk away from the program and to move to Florida. And I moved to Florida to start buying and selling real estate with 0 experience doing so. And did that for about 8 years until the crash of the market in 2008. Kind of floundered around for a few years until I started working for my wife, who had started her company, that one we're here to talk about, Applied Behavioral Learning Experiences. So that kind of gets me to where we are now, and I'll let Stacy.
Very good.
Great.
So I grew up in Virginia, 2-parent loving home with 1 sibling. Church and music were a big part of my upbringing, and love that. I didn't have quite the travel experiences that Chris had. Both of my parents were kind of locked in as teachers and other things. So we just did a lot of, short little trips, as we did, as families back then. I went to Virginia Tech to pursue a degree actually in something totally different, but began tutoring and fell in love with teaching. Also loved math, so I got my bachelor's in mathematics. And then I came back home from Virginia Tech and started teaching and went to Old Dominion and got my master's in education. Loved it. My passion all along has been to work with children and to help people. So really felt like that was my calling, felt like that was my talent, and really loved it a lot. Moved to Great Bridge High School where Chris enters the story, and we began talking at that point and kind of sharing our passion through the coaching and through teaching. And love that. When he moved to Florida, we decided to get married. I came down, still loved the teaching, but then I was beginning to, like Chris, figure out kind of what else is out there. As much as I want to pursue this passion, I wanted that freedom and flexibility to be home with our children, to travel, which I didn't get a whole lot of growing up. And, I saw both my parents worked very, very hard. Chris's parents worked very, very hard. And we just wanted, we honored that. We thought that was amazing. But at the same point, we just wanted that flexibility that I guess teaching didn't really allow us to have. So what could we go into that would allow us to pursue those passions and talents and change the lives of other people, but at the same point, allow us the opportunity for more freedom in our life. So that's kind of what brought us to where we are.
So when you started Able, did you start it with any mentorship or anybody guiding you into this specific business or industry? Or was it, you all got together, put together a business plan and launched the company? How was, once you got to Florida, what happened next that you were able to kind of start that business?
Well, I think Chris, because he was getting into the real estate, that allowed us a little bit more freedom. It was definitely, as Chris said, it was a hard decision to leave teaching, a very hard decision for me to leave teaching, because I felt like that was my calling, and that stability that teaching provided long term. So it was a challenging decision, but because he had opened some doors through real estate, we had someone actually just approach us at church one Sunday and said, hey, you're starting a family. We heard you were looking for something a little more flexible. We have a company, an ABA company. Why don't you come work for us? And so that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, began working for them part-time. I was able to stay home with our daughter, work just a little bit, still pursue that passion that we had. And that's kind of how it all started and got us in here. And it was really me in this field initially, with Chris doing the real estate. It's kind of how it started.
I got you. Okay.
And then, I asked Stacy the question. I said, what could we do to start our own company? I said, what's that process? And she said, well, we need to apply for this certain licensure, but it takes like a year and a half to get it. And I said, why don't we just apply for it just to have it as a fallback? So, not knowing much about business, we went to our friends and we said, hey, we are doing this. Stacy said, I'm doing this, but it's not going to be forever. I don't have any plans of starting my own company. And they fired her on the spot. So, lesson learned. And about 9 months later, the company folded, and we actually had our license in place. A couple of the people that worked for them called Stacy and said, hey, you have your license in place, get your company, can you help us? And going back to our philosophy of we like to help people, we said, sure, we'd love to help. And we just kind of got it up and running. So to answer your question specifically, to start, we did not have any mentorship whatsoever. We were trying to figure it out on our own. And I would say to anyone starting a company, mentorship is very, very important. And if we could go back, that's the one thing we would change, that we would have asked for help at a sooner time.
Right. Because we just weren't expecting that to be the path. We thought, this is what we'll do. We'll let them know. We'll gradually, fade out. And in that process, we'll learn more about how to do a business in this field. And we just have that opportunity to get all of our ducks in a row.
So talk a little bit about, basically you were able to launch this company with, you were let go of a company where you were gaining experience. You got your license, and then now you're ready to open your doors and start hiring employees. So what was the biggest challenges kind of going in, and what have you learned throughout the 15 years? Because 15 years is a huge success, because that amount of time, I would suspect that you've gained some experience now knowing what to do, what not to do, and how to do things better and continue to grow it. So what's been your greatest lesson over that period of time?
I think for me, because originally it was me starting the business. Chris was still doing the real estate. The biggest lesson is you can't do it all. That's probably the biggest lesson for me. And that's very hard for me because I'm a caretaker personality. So I want to take care of all of it and make sure everything is just right. Yep. And that was probably the biggest lesson for me. Going in, I did not have the experience of running a company. I did not have that mentorship yet. So my biggest recommendation is that once you said, like, you would get that mentorship, you would mentor with other people in the field that you're in, that you would take some courses in business management or some podcast, whatever it is, that you would learn a little bit more about how to run a company.
Yep.
I operated a lot on emotions and feelings, and made sure I took care of everybody else first, which we still do in our company. I mean, we're always the last ones that we take care of. So we take care of everybody else, but you have to also have good business sense as well. And I really didn't have that when opening that company. I was trying to run the back office. I was trying to do the behavior analysis part, trying to do the billing. And I just also really didn't have a good vision and goal in place for where I was kind of spinning and for a while. And I think that's really where Chris kind of came in and helped with that back office. And that's where we really were able to move forward.
And I would say, educate yourself, be an expert in your field, hire people to be experts in their field.
Yep.
Those, just from a very simplistic standpoint, you can't, Stacy's right, you can't do it all. You just can't. Nor should you.
So Chris, when you came into the business and you started looking at how you can help from a back office perspective, what was the biggest thing that you learned from a back office perspective that you needed to focus on to be able to help Stacy and help the business succeed?
Sure. So the story goes is we're in the real estate business pretty heavy, and the downturn really affected us. We probably lost 90% of our wealth when that turned. And it is what it is. And Stacy, I saw my wife working extremely hard, type that would be up to 2, 3 in the morning, doing billing, doing any back office stuff she could do. She said, finally, I need your help. And I said, okay, I'll help you, but this is the way I'm going to do it. I need time to educate myself. So I said, it's going to be about a 3 to maybe almost 6 month process of learning. So the first thing I started to do was call other ABA companies and ask for help. I said, can you please help me? It's interesting. I made 20 calls and I got 19 rejections. And on the 20th call, a company down in Miami that we still have a relationship with after all these years said, come on down. We'll show you everything that we do. And so that was the challenge, learning all the different systems that needed to be in place as we were growing as a company. Because you get to a tipping point in a company. For us, we got to a tipping point about 10 to maybe 12 people working for us, where we had to make a decision. Either we were going to go back to 1 or 2, or we were going to push forward. And so we made that decision to push forward. So the challenges were to learn the different type of systems we had to have in place. It could be accounting system. It could be, any type of web system that needed to be in place. It could be a scheduling system. That's what I spent all that time learning. And one of the messages I would send to new entrepreneurs is, don't be afraid to ask for help. And just because one door closes, just because somebody says no, that's okay. Go to the next door. Somebody will say yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. I think you calling 20 different 20 different companies to get some help and only one responding. there are people out there that don't mind helping and don't feel like helping is going to dampen their success. And so it sounds like that company gave you the help you needed. And in the industry you're in, which is highly regulated, and your billing process needs to be tight, I think, that's an important component of making sure you're successful in your industry.
Sure. And I would say that was one, you talk about billing, that was one of the things we weren't tight enough about. We didn't have the right system in place. So there was a lot of overlap. There was a lot of missing in the beginning. So it just took us a while to figure that out.
We talk a lot about just some of the challenges you all had going in. Let's talk about some of the success, some of the reasons why you love what you do. I explained a little bit about what you do, but let me hear it from you about what it is that makes the ownership rewarding, and also what success have you had after going through the challenges, after, figuring out that I can't do everything. Talk a little bit about some successful accomplishments you've had.
Well, like you said earlier, we've been in business for over 15 years. So that's quite a success to us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's an honor and privilege to do what we do every day. And we impact the lives of thousands, each month, through our clients, through their families, through our staff, through their families. One of the things when I ended up being let go from another company and we started this company, I said to myself, I want this to be a team. I want this to feel like a family. And I want our staff to always know that we are there for them. And I feel like even through this growth, after 16 years, that 100% happens. And I think we just recently did some surveys, and 81% of our staff, confidently answered a 10 out of 10 that they felt that way about this company. And so to me, it's always been about helping other people. And while the growth was challenging, and probably even more so challenging for me because I like to have my hands in all of the pots, as I shouldn't, but I want to make sure everybody's okay. But even through all of that, I feel like our goal and our vision have stayed the same, and that we've just the impact that we have on others' lives is the biggest success to me. And even through that growth, I've had to step down a little bit from my role in doing as much of the ABA, and I've had to go into a little bit of a different role of managing the staff. I know that even though I'm not impacting all those lives personally, through our commitment to this company, we are impacting thousands more lives. So.
Mm-hmm. And I would also say, one of the cool things that we just noticed, and to be honest with you, we had not noticed it up until recently, is we are about 40% minorities in our company. Mm-hmm. And 3 of the 4 top positions in our companies are minority based. And we didn't know that until like 2 weeks ago. So Stacy's point, we've always viewed people who walked in the door, do you fit our core values? Do you fit our mission statement? That's it. And if you can do those type of things, great, come on. And so we're very proud of that. And I think that's a lesson that people should understand is, what are your core values? What's your mission? Do these people that walk through the door, I don't care who they are, where they come from, race, gender, it doesn't matter to us. If they fit those core values, come on, you can be a part of the Able family. And that's what we look for.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge testament to you sticking with your vision, staying, also just making sure you have an inclusive environment, because you serve a diverse amount of people, based on, what their disabilities are, and I think your business is a passion business. You do it because you're passionate about it. And if you focus on the mission at hand, opposed to just the financial rewards, then you'll be extremely successful. And so I think even though you didn't have all the business expertise going in, you had the right thoughts and characteristics to serve the community you wanted to serve. And so, it's good that you were able to financially still push through 15 years, which I think is a huge success. So you're still going.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to understand we didn't start this business to make money. That's not the reason and it's still not the reason we're doing it. Is that a component of it? Absolutely. But that's not the reason we're doing it. We are doing it to help people. We like working with children. that's our focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when anyone's starting out new needs to understand what's their focus, why are they doing this? What's their passion behind it?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that passion, the other stuff takes care of itself.
That's right.
Onto that, have to keep that core value, that vision always in front of you, because through the growth that we're going through right now, we could have grown a lot faster than we did. And we've had a few people leave our company over the years and have done their own company, and it hasn't lasted more than a year or two because they were so focused on this growth. And I think that we've been very focused on keeping that vision where it needs to be. And through that, we're able to grow, but we're to do it in what we think the right way, so that we're able to maintain that family feel. We're able to make sure that we are client-centered and staff-centered always. And if that, takes a little bit longer to get to that ultimate goal, that's okay for us, because we just want to make sure that we're, staying focused on that.
Sure. And the people in the Abel family know if their car broke down on the side of the road at midnight, they could call us and we would come get them. That's important to us. That's the type of relationship we want with the people in the Abel family.
Yep. And I think that's great to have that family atmosphere. And Chris, with your background in coaching, I think it also is probably helpful to have the coaching background and being able to coach those employees and coach your staff and create a family environment. I think they're all helpful, as you've done it. So who do you all look for advice to now? You didn't have mentors going in. Who's on your professional team as far as advisors, whether it be CPAs, attorneys, and also, do you still have a mentor? It sounds like the company in Florida you still have a relationship with as well.
We do. So I think we have the slew. We have bankers that we have a relationship with. We have our tax accountant that we have a relationship with. One of my assistant coaches, I coached down here for the last 5 years. He was a lawyer. He's our lawyer that we have a relationship with. That company that we still have a relationship with, we're actually buying some software from them now. They created some software tailored specifically for us, or not us, but for ABA field. So we are doing that. We have our financial advisor as well. So once again, going back to one of our base philosophies is we try to be experts in our field, and we are more than welcome. So I think your episode 2, the gentleman who owned the Chick-fil-A franchises talked about being a generalist. I think he used that term, and that's what we are. We're generalists. I think we have basic ideas on how to do a lot of that type of things, but we leave it up to the experts, and we have a team of them that we lean on.
Yep.
And I've also established good relationships with other ABA companies in the field, several, and one of which I worked for a short period of time when I was let go. They had a totally different attitude. Hey, we're here to help you. Whatever you can provide for us helps us. And we've kept an amazing relationship over the years. We have a great team of kind of companies that we bounce ideas off of all the time. We've also, over the years, hired some job coach, career coach type things to kind of help us figure out, as we're growing, how do we, maintain those core values and help more families, but not lose the purpose that we're here for. And so I think, I've looked at Chris a lot, when he finally came in, that say, I'm really great at this ABA piece. I'm really great at the people part and the staff, but I don't really have any idea how to do this. And that's why we're spinning, and we really want to do things the right way. So I look to him a lot, and we've hired a really amazing operations manager as well that, has brought in a lot of different components. So like I think Chris said, do what you do well, and bring on other people to help you in those other areas.
Where do you all see where do you see the company going in the next 15 years? I mean, what are the goals that you've set for yourself, and how are you keeping yourself accountable to reaching those goals?
Sure. So our goals are moving forward is we just started our 3rd clinic in Tampa. We're actually up to 60 employees right now.
Oh man. Okay.
And I think by the end of 2021, our goal is to be up to about 100. Mm-hmm. And in a way, Stacy and I are moving towards the beach. We live in Lakeland, and Lakeland is right in the middle of the state. So we are heading towards the beach with our clinic. So someday that Stacy and I would like to move down there. So that's kind of one of our long-term plans. As our children get older, they will have some opportunity, if they choose to do so, to come work for the company, maybe take over the company. That's one. We've looked into some partnerships as well in the future, to where to the healthcare companies that are looking to do partnerships. We have that in the works as well. So I think we have plenty. It's an ever expanding field, and the next 15 years, you know, we could continue to grow and to expand at a controlled rate. That's the key for us.
And Chris, what did you learn, you know, with going in from a real estate perspective? And again, I don't think anybody could have predicted the recession, all probably felt like a depression in the real estate industry. But, you know, what did you learn from that experience that you utilize today about how you go about just business in general?
Sure. Well, I'd like to talk about that real estate experience here for a second, because I think it hits home. So I remember I came down to Lakeland to visit my best friend who was down here, who was doing real estate, and I saw what he was doing, and I was like, I can do this. And when I left Great Bridge, I remember one of the somebody there asked me, well, what do you know about the real estate business? And I said, nothing. And they were like, well, why do you think you can be successful? And I said, why do you think I can't be successful? You mean, so when I came down to Florida, I knew nothing about the real estate business, but I did exactly what we have talked about. I started to educate myself. I got a mentor. A great book when we talk about real estate, and I know you've heard of it, is the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. It's a very simple book into how money works. So I'd like to tell you a story about the first house that I bought, because it's real estate 101. I bought it with a credit card.
And so, lived in it.
And so when I came to Florida, I had like $2,000 to my name, and I leased a Zuzu Rodeo. Everything I owned was in leased a Zuzu Rodeo.
Oh yeah.
And I came across a house that was for sale for $25,000, and it needed about $5,000 worth of work. And I had a credit card back in the day. I don't even have a credit card with that type of limit now. It had like a $30,000 limit. So I wired in the money, and I fixed up the house. So most people would say, and you know, the interest rate was like 20%. Most people would say, well, I wouldn't take a 20% loan at, you know, for 30 grand. It's going to cost you too much. But understanding that I was going to pay it back immediately. So I fixed up the house. As soon as the house was fixed up, within about 6 weeks, went to the bank, and the bank valued the house now at $55,000, and they gave me a $50,000 loan for it. So I took a $50,000 loan, I paid off the 30, and it left me with $20,000 left. And then Stacy and I moved into it. After about 9 months, we moved into another house, and that house created about $500 a month in rental positive cash flow for us. And so now I have an asset that's already paid me back, put some money that I don't have to pay taxes on, and I started to make a monthly income for it. And that's how I started in the real estate business, where like, I can do this. I can continue to do this. These numbers are easy to work. And so when you go to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? The Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks about the flow of money. The majority of people go to work, they get a paycheck, the paycheck pays for their liabilities, they go to work, and then they go to work, they get paid more, but then their liabilities get more. And so what Rich Dad, Poor Dad says is buy assets, and the assets to pay for your liabilities. So that's how we started in the real estate business. And so what I learned was that I could educate myself, and through asking questions, through mentorships, I was not afraid when Stacy came to me and said, can you help? Can you run the back office? I didn't necessarily have back office experience, but I did have experience in trying new things, understanding that I could succeed, right? I didn't ask I don't try to say the question, I can't do it. I say, how can I do it? And so that's the experience I brought in. Just that knowing that I used to go to weekend seminars for real estate just to learn the tricks of the trade. I became a realtor. right? So I have my real estate license, and that over 20 years I've had it has probably saved me 6 figures worth of commissions going back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's the important thing that I think I've learned. Mentorship, asking questions, letting the experts do their work. Those are the things that were important to get going, to understand that you can't do it all yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. And those are great, great examples. I mean, I think during that time, it was a very interesting time in real estate where I think a lot of people got some life lessons, also had some great opportunities that they were able to take advantage of. And so just to hear your experience in it, and Florida was probably one of the hardest hit markets, being in that market, but it also was a great deal of opportunity in Florida. So it kind of, so you had both sides.
And it's interesting. I saw on your webpage the other day, you're talking about credit and credit score.
Mm-hmm.
So during that downturn for a while, Stacy and I's credit was hit pretty hard, preventing us from getting loans in place, which became a very positive experience for us because we became cash people. That everything that we do became a cash type of situation where we always knew how much money, you hear about people that are financed at 90% to debt. Our debt ratio is about 30%, and we've tried to keep it down purposely like that. So it was a very learning experience. So yes, something bad happened to our credit, but because we then learned how to do it a different way.
Yep. Yeah. And I think sometimes those experiences teach you how to be more dependent upon yourself, opposed to be dependent upon a bank or a lender or somebody loaning you money to grow your business or start something. So, when I look at people, where I talk to people and they're cash rich, and I feel like they have the most flexibility, the leverage is in their hands now, because they control, what they can receive and also what they can do. And as much as people want to lend you money and give you $30,000 credit cards when you really, might not need it, you're in the control seat or the driver's seat when you have cash and you learn to operate on less. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book. It's a lot of other great books out there, but being in control of your future, I think is the things that I love talking to entrepreneurs about. Tell me a little bit of, you all are a husband and wife team, and, you have a family business in a sense. So, talk a little bit about just managing business as a family and the balance between personal life and also your business life. I see a lot of family businesses where they hope that their kids will take it over, but the kids have no interest in taking it over. So just talk about just the balance there, because that's a tough thing to do.
Sure. I think actually we work very, very well together, which has been a blessing. But I think that a couple of the keys are to allow the other person to do what they do well and not to dip in. And I use the word dipping in a lot. Chris knows that my area of expertise is in the ABA. He knows that I communicate probably the best with the staff, and I can, handle that part very well. I know that he handles the back office the best. And so ultimately when a decision has to be made, although we meet as a team constantly, I'm going to defer that decision, that financial decision or some of those back office decisions to him. And when it comes to maybe handling some of the staff or the ABA parts or the clients, he's going to defer to me. So I think just allowing that other person to do what they do well and trusting that we have the same vision, the same goal ultimately. So he's going to make the decision that's in the best interest of that. And I think that's a big one. I think making sure that you stay professional at work. When we go into work, people know that we're married. They see us. They've ever seen us argue or anything like that. And I think that we just keep our personal life at home and our business life at work, and we treat each other professionally at work. And so I think that's really important. Setting those boundaries at home is important because I'm so passionate about the ABA part of it. I could talk this all day long. So making sure that we don't bring too much work home. On a date night, we don't talk about it. So things like that. So just trying to set those boundaries between professional and personal life at the office and at home, I think are really, really important. And I think just knowing your partner too, I think a couple of your other podcasts talking about, it's really important to know who your partner is and their love language and how they receive things. And a piggyback on that is one of our favorite authors is an author called Brene Brown. And she has a great book out there called Dare to Lead. And it talks about what makes someone armor up, what makes them defensive about things. And so when you're coming at the other person and you're talking a little bit about maybe what's in their line of work or their duty, how do you do that, in a way that you can effectively communicate with them? And I think communication is absolutely key. Communicate, and ask questions, be curious. Often when there's been a breakdown in communication, it's been because I didn't ask enough questions of him, or I didn't understand the situation fully, and the same thing back and forth.
Yep.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think communication is the key. We work on that. We actually meet the two of us plus our operations manager and go through how to workbook on how to communicate more effectively, especially for husband and wife team. It's, one of the things that's easy to do is to see your partner giving their time to someone else besides you, because that's what you do in work. And just understanding, like, to me, understanding that's Stacy's passion, and creating that space where she can fully go after that passion. And that's where it needs to be. It's just, so it would be easy to be jealous, but to me, I'm happy when I see her pursuing her passion. I love it. It's great to see. And I think it's an inspiration for our children to see that as well. And I agree with you. We're not pushing our kids into this whatsoever. I want them to choose their own path and be their own people, and we'll be accepting to whatever that is.
Yep. I think you all said some great things about communication. I think, going in business together, marriage is the ultimate partnership, but then going in business together, you have to be able to allow that person to be who they are and work together as best as possible, because there are a lot of family challenges with business because of those different things, whether it's ego or it's, who's going to do what, or who's making what decision, or pointing fingers, if there's a mistake that was made, so, being together and being in business and balancing it, I think is also a huge accomplishment. And then planning your exit, just figuring out how, when you guys are going to move further down to Florida towards the beach, to retire. There are a lot of really good things going on now with people being able to either acquire other businesses or sell their business, and just having that option at the end of retirement, and I think is a good option to have. I think you're teaching the kids a great deal too by you all working together and growing a business.
Well, thank you. And we want to say that, we are not necessarily rich in money, right? We are not at that point. And we have no real goal to retire anytime soon, because this is such a passion for us, because we love doing it. What we are rich in, Jeff, is we are rich in life. We are rich in love. We are rich in family. We are rich in travel. We are rich because we can do all these other things, all these passions. And so when you say, what's your exit strategy? I'm not sure we 100% have one, because we are so rich in our life right now and so full that we don't want to give that up. We want to continue to grow that and continue to live through our passions. That's the exciting part of what we're doing.
I think there's more work to be done, is the way I look at it too. But there's just more we need to do and give back with what we do, that we're committed to continuing to do that. But that's one of the things that's when I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And I saw myself getting up at 5:30 every morning teaching, which once again is a wonderful career path, and I loved it. And I saw Chris, working and having all of this flexibility with his time. And I said, that's what I need for our kids and our family. I want us to be able to be fully involved in their lives, especially while they're young, and have those opportunities. And so, like Chris said, that's for us. And for our love language, quality time is the top on both of ours. So that's something that for us, we felt like aligned with our goals for life.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that statement about being rich. I think, financial success is not just about the money you have, or being rich is not about how much money you're making, but just the freedom part, just being free to do the things you love and do those things with the people you love is extremely, I think is much more valuable, because anybody could make a lot of money doing something they don't like that stresses them out. But you all are doing something that you're passionate about, and you're doing it with the person that you're most passionate about. So that's what that's what I want to highlight about entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur, is some of those values and not just the money you make. What if you were given one piece of advice to, again, somebody looking to start their own company, whether it's in the same industry you're in or not? What would that one piece of advice be for that young individual that's aspiring to let go of their job, or they just got let go of their job, and they're trying to say, all right, what's my next step?
Pursue your passion. Be passionate about what you're going to do, because it makes it owning your own business is not easy, and you are going to work long hours at times. At times you won't get paid. At times it's going to be frustrating. But if you are pursuing your passion, it seems to mitigate some of those things. So just pursue it. If you are passionate about something, go after it. It's okay. And it's another thing. It's okay to fail. That's okay. I've always said, the more I failed, I know I'm going to be closer to success. Right? So it's okay. So I would just say, pursue your passion. You?
I would just say, be curious, stay curious. I think learning, that's what has made us successful in the end, is just being willing to read, to, learn, accept mentorship. Just stay curious and learn. And I think that's really important too. And then what Chris said, back to the rich dad, is how can I? I think we do a lot of that positive terminology in my field as well. But how can I do this?
I think both of those are great points. And again, that book was a book that again, I thought was a great book to read. One of the books that I read, and I felt like he laid it out in a simplistic way to understand, how to live in this society and be, just expand on opportunities and take advantage of opportunities. And so that's a great recommendation. So normally how I end this is, I like to end this with like a speed round of 5 questions. Sometimes I get, couples to point at each other and say who's what, but this time I'm just going to do a speed round and ask you 5 questions. Chris, you'll say your answer, and then Stacy, you'll say your answer as well. And it's really simple, really fun way to end. And then I will thank you guys for joining, because again, you've laid out a lot of great gems and insight during this conversation. So to end, are you ready for your 5 questions?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, what is your favorite movie?
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. And Stacy, what's your favorite movie?
Elf.
You said Elf. You said Elf?
Elf.
All right. Favorite book?
The Outliers.
To Sir with Love.
All right. Your first car?
Say that again?
Your first car?
Ooh, I think it was like a GMC 1972 Opel that was orange, that like had the floor rusting at the baseboard. You could see the cement like you were driving.
I had a yellow station wagon with paneling on the side.
Nice.
Yellow station wagon. All right. Favorite place to travel?
Ooh. Europe from a general standpoint, but Austria from a specific standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Salzburg, Austria was probably my favorite trip.
Okay, excellent. And favorite meal, favorite thing to eat?
Pizza. Being in Italy, I think pizza kind of has always stuck with me.
Oh yeah.
I'd probably say Mexican.
Mexican food. Okay. Excellent. Well, one, I have to ask this one question because I saw this on your bio before we end. I saw that it said you were, Chris, you're a minority owner of the Green Bay Packers. So I have to ask you about that ownership before we end.
Sure. So the Packers are the only publicly traded sports franchise, and they have shares. So about 22 years ago, they were redoing Lambeau Field, and they opened up a whole bunch of shares so they could raise money for the renovation. So I own one share of the Green Bay Packers. So I'm officially a minority owner of an NFL football franchise, and it's my beloved Packers. So.
That's I had no idea that the Green Bay Packers were a publicly traded company. So I'm
not sure if they're traded, but they're a public company. I don't know if you can trade. I don't think the stock has any value, but great to see other owners, and we can have little shareholder meetings in all sorts of
places. Well, that is an interesting fact. I mean, I appreciate you letting me know more about your minority ownership in the Green Bay Packers. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, so I am a Redskins fan, but I am a big Aaron Rodgers fan. So, but thank you all for joining. Thank you for being a part, sharing your story. Thank you for being an equity partner, hopefully in someone else's life that's able to gain some valuable information so they can go out and start their own businesses, have that financial freedom that we talked about. And I appreciate you all being a part of it.
We appreciate you having us.
Thanks, Jeff. And what you're doing is amazing. So very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you very